Hello, everyone. My name is John Cunningham, and this is the VRAR Bytes podcast. We're exploring the topic of, are we at the tipping point for XR? Now, Malcolm Gladwell defines the term in his best-selling book, The Tipping Point, as the tipping point is that magic moment where an idea, trend, or social behavior crosses a threshold, tips, and spreads like wildfire. Now, XR has been a hot topic for many years, and especially with recent, new devices from HTC Vive, Magically, Meta, and of course, a promise from Apple to transform spatial computing with their new Vision Pro product. But are we really at the point where this technology finally becomes ubiquitous? Today, my guest is Pearly Chen, who's a vice president at HTC Vive, where she heads business development and content partnerships. And Pearly also manages HTC's $100 million global accelerator Vive X fund since its inception in 2016. Everyone knows that HTC Vive was an early entrant into the XR device market when its first product shipped in 2016. And since then, they've released a number of different models. Earlier this year, Pearly joined us at the Central Florida VRARA Summit, where she showcased the Vive XR Elite. And this is an amazing device that can transform itself into a number of different form factors. So Pearly, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, John, for having me.
All right, so let's jump right into it. Pearly, as the leader of one of the world's leading device manufacturers and through your fund, you probably have more in-depth understanding of what's happening in the XR market than most of us lay people. So what are the technology trends that you see that are driving adoption of XR today?
I think the XR devices are definitely getting more attractive. They're getting smaller, lighter, more comfortable to wear for the longer period of time. They're also allowing more mixed reality capabilities, like the XR Elite that we showcased a few months ago, actually since early this year now. So to seamlessly blend our digital life on top of our physical life, to really achieve that vision of a new digital experience through MR, VR, AR, XR, when all of these virtual contents blend seamlessly together with our physical life. I think that's ultimately what this idea of metaverse is, to have a more meaningful, more immersive, more interesting digital portal into how we interact with digital experiences today. So MR is one, form factor is one. I think cost factor definitely is definitely coming down as well. That's important for driving adoption, but also more meaningful use cases to replace some of people's day-to-day activities, whether that is your wellness, workout, your meditation, or some of your productivity activities, or how you connect with your families and friends and colleagues. Again, hardware is always one. This has to be more attractive, more affordable, more accessible, more comfortable for a wider range of population. And then the reason that you're engaging with the technology, we only have 24 hours a day, each of us. So we can only do so much. And how can this device increasingly make our digital experience that much more effective and meaningful? These are some of the factors.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I'm every day I look at the devices and the developments that's happening, and it's very difficult to keep up. But for sure, from where we were 3 years ago to where we are today, and looking out the next couple of years, it's really an exciting time.
Right, but just think about really this scaling up for wider adoption to get to that tipping point that you talk about. I believe interoperability ultimately would need to be a big factor too. Not everyone building their wall gardens and users having to choose between one garden from another, versus developers having a way in to service all of the hardware devices. So that interoperability has been an important, I think, concept that we're all striving and thinking about and planning how stakeholders can come to the table early and discuss what that looks like. OpenXR, WebXR, different protocols for enabling content to be produced once and deployed to all the devices out there. I don't think anybody really benefits, especially on the end user side, when there's only one monopolizing platform that is walled garden protected. Ultimately, more companies as the ecosystem need to thrive. So interoperability is another thing. Another trend that maybe I omitted mentioning is more user-generated content, more AI-assisted generative content. When people can be more empowered, that create that access to creating worlds, creating assets and experiences can be democratized through visual scripting tools, no code creation tools, then the virtual worlds become that much more interesting and personal.
Absolutely. So, Pearly, what industries are you seeing as the fastest moving adopters today?
So of course we see a lot of movements in the individual entertainment side of things since early days, but since day one of us investing in HTC Vive, we've always thought about what comes beyond gaming. And so education, healthcare, productivity, arts and cultures are a few areas that we've been investing pretty heavily on, from direct investment to content partnerships to working very closely with some of these partners. Healthcare is particularly has a very special place in my heart. We invest in multiple startups that are pushing the envelopes in applying XR technology for immediate patient benefits today. So we don't need to wait until the pipe dream of a metaverse unleashing all of human potential in the coming decade. We can already deliver a lot of these human societal impacts starting today, when you can deliver a better care through virtual therapeutics or patient education or surgical simulation, or a lot of other areas, application areas in healthcare arena. The value is already there. The commercial human value already exists, and we should be educating the market, the users, the hospitals and the healthcare providers to take more advantage of these areas. And education, we don't even have to talk about it, how immersive learning gives you that much higher level of engagement, of retention, of learning outcome. When it's high stake learning, like in surgical training, medical training, the VR trained surgeons make 6 times fewer errors, according to a Yale Medical School study. We all want our surgeons to be trained immersively, and that has fewer costs and longer retention and but better patient outcome. Period.
Well, right. So you really, I can see your passion there with healthcare. I completely agree with you. And it's what's really interesting is, I mean, we could equally dive into industrial manufacturing, right? So I think what we're seeing is that all of these industries are starting to develop their own stack of use cases where this technology really brings value. It's just you're really passionate and focused on healthcare right now.
Right. And arts and culture is another area that I'm very interested in, because we bring VR into the public sphere of another way to appreciate the arts. And your museum goers might not be your usual VR early adopters, but they get to see the stories told in a completely different way. They come in touch with the new technology that will ultimately shape every aspect of our digital life. And so these partnerships with the Museum of Louvre, or most recently Musée d'Orsay in Paris, and many other world-renowned museums all around the world. I believe we have more than 80 projects since we've been running this Vive Arts program. That's another very interesting way to bring the power of immersive technology in storytelling, in helping the public conserve and appreciate the arts, that could make a difference in adoption. And from healthcare side of things, we work with a portfolio company called Mind VR to bring immersive experiences into senior homes. So right, aging adults are surprisingly fantastic beneficiaries and adopters of the technology. It's very intuitive for them. It's fantastic for their cognitive engagement. It improves dramatically the relationship between them and their caregivers, as well as their level of their sense of well-being, and decreasing their level of stress, anxiety, and sadness. Many of these data will be made public, and we already deploy in dozens of locations. Most recently announced with in the Michigan area. So as I say, I'm excited about all these tangible human impact as we increasingly drive up the adoption curve for XR.
Right, absolutely. So third question, what are the biggest hurdles that you see that we still have to overcome? And I think you talked about walled gardens already in the beginning, but interoperability, stuff like that.
Right. I think since beginning, we started shipping the original Vive in 2015. Wow, it's 7-8 years now. We had always understood that this would be a marathon, not a sprint. It took a better part of more than 10 years for smartphones to really become ubiquitous, from an emerging, bulky, expensive technology to benefiting billions of people around the world. And so this would take time. time, and this is an exponentially more complicated technology when it comes to 3D content creation and all the sensors involved for intuitive input, for bio data, and for the privacy and data concerns as well. Is much more complex. So we will take more time in educating the benefits of XR to more industries, for more consumers, to introduce meaningful applications, to show them why there's a reason to care and to try, even if they're not necessarily all prime time ready today, like our smartphones are in our pocket. But I think that the technology itself will continue to evolve. The application attraction will continue to improve. The cost and affordability will continue to improve as well. But there's still a lot of work to do in making this a truly compatible device with our day-to-day life, and getting more people to move past that initial, I think, disillusionment, because when we first started 2015, 16, there were a lot of overhype, like what we're seeing now in generative AI. When there's an overhype with a tremendous amount of capital and attention, ultimately we all go through a bit of disappointment, disillusionment. I think most of the population might still be stuck with a very bad Gear VR experience back in the early days. Why would we need to use VR? Is this going to bring us into a dystopia where we no longer interact with our physical world and human beings? A lot of, I think, misconceptions for sure. And so how can we as stakeholders of the industry continue to advocate for, invest in positive applications of this technology, so more people can benefit, and ultimately the technology's commercial development will take its course, and we will get much closer to that tipping point where the magic can be enjoyed by truly billions of people around the world.
All right, so last question. So Pearly, do you believe that we are at the tipping point for XR?
We're not there. No, spoiler alert. I think you've heard this from everyone. But we, with the right vision, we all share a great vision for what this technology can do for society, with persistence and a kind heart. I think that's important, and what this technology can do for society. We will get there. It's not necessarily a matter of whether this will be important technology. I think inevitably, and it's just a matter of when our personal technology experience move from our 2D screens that we're interacting primarily today to a much more innately human 3D sensing experience, where we can share the sense of presence despite any physical distances between us, and more the digital divide that still exists today will hopefully be addressed with this next leapfrog of personal technology curve, with high-speed network being developed, 5G, 6G, 7G, where the device can maybe just be a screen and not so much compute is required on device, when the edge, the cloud, can do much of the processing. And of course, with the advent of AI, of empowering more people to have contextual experiences where they can generate the experiences of their dreams to share with their loved ones. And imagine what this means to educating our next generation, etc. So you will notice that I'm still thinking a lot more in the future, where everyone has one and can benefit from it, but we're not there today. But that's also why there's still so much work to do. But optimism is required.
Great. That's a great answer. And obviously you're very passionate. You've been in the industry for many years, right? A true pioneer, and to continue to have that optimism is a great sign. So thank you for joining us, Pearly. Look forward to seeing you here sometime soon in person.
Thank you, John. Nice to chat with you today.